Alright, as you guys can see, I've got some Aguilar pedals up here. I'm about to head out on the road with Gino Vanelli, along with a few other sporadic gigs out in Europe, but I'll be gone for 5 weeks. I'll be in Toronto area, Canada for about a week and a half, kind of circling Toronto, and then out in Europe for a few more weeks with Gino, and then playing out there with Tarek Abuzaid, who's a great drummer, buddy of mine in Seattle, with Michael Stecklenburg and Ephraim Trujillo, who I haven't met those guys yet, but we're going to have some gigs in Holland, so that'll be fun. But anyway, I generally, when I tour with Gino, I have a large multi-effects pedal that allows me to get some synth sounds, a fretless emulator, different octaves, a whole lot of stuff. It's a Boss 10B, I think. It's a great multi-effects pedal, very customizable, but it's big and it's heavy. And I usually stick that in my suitcase, and by the time I've gotten all my gear in my suitcase, you know, it's already 30 pounds and I don't have that much room for clothes. So now I'm going to be going for 5 weeks. I'd like to bring a few more shirts and socks if I can. So I've been looking to downsize my rig. Happened to be talking to Dave Avenius. I've been an Aguilar guy forever. We were talking about the Grape Phaser, which is a very cool new phaser pedal they just came out with. And you know, I'd never really messed around with Aguilar's pedals. I just always used their amps and their heads, and never really spent that much time with their pedals. So I thought I'd give a few a try. Basically, what I have here, I have the Octamizer, which turned out to be a phenomenal octave pedal. I wish I had gotten this forever ago. I picked up a Grape Phaser as well, and the Fuzzistor, thinking that I'd be able to pretty much emulate the synth sounds that I use on Gino's gig with these, as well as everything in between. Maybe a little bit of phasing with the bass for some of the more fretless sounding passages, octave on just some of the beefier octave things that don't need a full-on synth sound, and the Fuzzistor to give a little bit of a square wave. Also imagining that I could use these with some other groups I play in. It's nice to have an overdrive when I play with Skerrick. He's a great horn player, but it's punk rock jazz. It's loud, and a little bit of overdrive goes a long way on that gig sometimes. So I've been playing around with these pedals all morning, and I thought I'd show you some of the settings and sounds. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what's what. They're brand new pedals to me. They just showed up, and the UPS guy, Santa Claus as I call him, showed up today to bring me my toys. And I'm also going to be using the Tone Hammer pedal as my DI box on the road, because actually my old DI died. And I was looking for a replacement for that, and knowing the Aguilar preamp as well as I do, the Tone Hammer it just makes sense for me. It's a great DI box, plus with the aggro switch, that can't hurt. So let's get into some of these pedals. Now let's talk about the let's just go in order. The Octamizer. Now whenever people talk octave pedals, they usually talk about the OC2 or also the MXR octaver, because they both do the sub octave very well. They track pretty well. They don't make the OC2 anymore. The Boss OC3 doesn't really do it that well anymore. So a lot of guys have been stocking up on OC2s. Now one thing, that was kind of the first thing I did with this pedal, is just turn up the octave level. As you can see, we have a clean level, octave level, and then tone knobs for both of them, which is fantastic. And as you can see, with just the sub octave, I'll turn on my volume here. It tracks really well, no glitching. So that's fantastic. That was the kind of the first my litmus test, and it passed with flying colors. Now this tone filter, octave filter knob, it's basically a tone knob for the octave, sub octave. You can hear, even that's just a great sound. what's very cool, and I don't know who thought of this, but it's a great idea. If we turn off the sub-octave and just go clean level, it's nice to be able to check your volume engaged versus disengaged, so you're not getting gigantic spikes or drops on stage. You can get the effect without necessarily getting louder, which is nice. But you also have a tone knob for your clean sound. And everywhere in between. Now I might, for the clean sound, I might set the tone to be brighter than I might otherwise, simply because with the octave it's nice to help get it to cut a little bit. But between these four knobs, boy, you have a pretty versatile set of sounds. Not trying to show off there, I'm just trying to show you how well it tracks. You know, you can get into some speedy little passages and it keeps right up with you. So that is the Octamizer. Now we have the Grape Phaser. Couldn't be simpler. Rate of phase and color. Essentially kind of another tone knob. As you can see, very slow to very fast. Probably slower than you'd need to faster than you'd need. Might as well have all the options. And also color. Which is, to me, sounds basically like depth. You can get some kind of the classic kind of phasey sounds. I found when trying to emulate a little bit of a synth thing that it was pretty handy to just add a little bit of the phaser, and it really gave it a nice little synthy thing. So let me show you the Fuzzistor. Fuzzistor. And much like the octave pedal, this has level, so essentially kind of a level for the fuzz as well as level for your dry bass. And likewise, you can set the level so you're not boosting your signal too much when you engage. You can get a ton of fuzz without actually getting louder, which is cool. And then the blend knob, which blends the amount of fuzz. It's basically kind of no fuzz to just fuzz. And then the intensity of the fuzz all the way down. You get just kind of like a dirty little overdriven, which is pretty nice. And again, tone for the fuzz. Makes you want to slop around. And lo and behold, you throw all of these together, and like I said, I'm still kind of dialing in the sounds a little bit, but you can get might brighten this up a little bit, brighten everything up a little bit. Let's see what happens. Just a little bit of that square wave fuzz. Maybe I'll do just a little bit less, a little more octave. Let's see what happens. Playing really low on the bass and it's still keeping up pretty well. Now that just thrills me, because one of the problems I've had on Gino's gig with different pedals I've tried is that he has a lot of fast little unison lines with a guitar player and some tricky little passages, and a lot of the pedals just don't track well enough to keep up. Actually, let me play one of the unison lines. It's during a guitar solo, and we kind of end his guitar solo by both playing this line. Let's see. Something like that. I'm gonna have to do some shedding before this upcoming tour. Maybe a little bit less octave, because I am playing pretty low. A little bit less fuzz. Maybe a little more clean. So I'm thinking this is gonna work pretty well for a lot of the things I do. So I figured I'd, in addition to giving Aguilar a little bit of love, because they've been so good to me, and they've supported me for quite a long time now. I thought I'd do this video because I'm also pretty thrilled with the pedals. They're doing a great job. They're all really versatile. Going to do a little more exploration and get to know them a little better, dial in those sounds, maybe take a picture of my knobs so I can remember how to get those sounds. But I'm thinking this is going to be great. I'll toss a tuner in the mix, and I think this will get me through. This might be my new little pedal rig. So thank you guys at Aguilar, thank you Dave Avenius, and thank you guys for checking this out. Couldn't be happier with these things. Great job. Just messing around. A phaser. It's fun.